starts at 7:10. Started at 7:10 here for a long time.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the 10After7 podcast on YouTube with your host, Michael Cody Stephenson. We've made it all the way to episode 24, so shout out to the greatest number 24 to ever live, Kobe Bean Bryant. This podcast is going to be a little bit different. A week from today, Thursday, baseball returns, and then a week after that, the NBA returns. And that's the exact reason I started this podcast, to talk about live sports. So when the Dodgers reel off 3 wins straight, I could come on here and boast. Or if they lose 3 straight, I could get pissed off and tell you guys about it. Or when the Lakers, when they're struggling, I could get mad. But I haven't been able to get mad at anything. I don't even know if I can talk about live sports anymore, but I'm so fired up to do so. And next week and weeks going forward, we finally get to do it. But first, I want to thank you guys for all listening for the past 4 months, because I've been spewing about books I've read. I'm at 7 now. That's a pat on the back for myself. Read a book in 3 days, didn't think that was possible. I speak about the movies I watched, the shows I watched. Somehow stumbled on Selling Sunset on Netflix. Don't know how or why. But it's 5 real estate agents in West Hollywood, and it's good. I think. I don't know. My brain is just mush at this point from all the stuff I've watched and read. But finally, live sports in the coming weeks. You finally get to hear me spew about shit that you probably don't care about, but I do. Best believe when Dave Roberts pulls a pitcher too early, or Madison Bumgarner's walking around that mound, snot rocketing for the 80th time in 2 minutes, my blood's going to boil, and I'm going to go on the podcast and tell. But this podcast in particular, today's July 16th, and I'm dedicating it to my hero, my older brother, Dylan Henry Stephenson. You see my shirt, it says, "Thanks for the kidney, bro." Pretty self-explanatory. If you know me personally, you know my story. If not, I'll tell you about it. I was born with 1 kidney. A little C-section baby. Had a lot of complications. Got tons of scars to show for it. And my parents told me I was sick a lot growing up. I don't remember that. I remember having the greatest childhood of all time. I shared a room with my brother Dylan for a long time. And we would fight. We would act like we were WWE wrestlers. I hit him in the nose one time with a chair. He started bleeding. I would follow him everywhere. And the only thing I knew is I had 1 kidney and I couldn't play contact sports. That didn't deter me from anything. Wrestling, no. Tackle football in the backyard, no. And my brother was my guy from day one. You know that, you're brothers. You fight. As the younger brother, you follow him to every sleepover he ever had. You go to his baseball tournaments. I get in the dugout as a bat boy. I get as water boy in football. He probably got annoyed at me. I don't know how he didn't. I was always around. The only time I remember being sick or anything to do with my kidney, I had a kidney infection when I was in 3rd grade. And even then, I remember having an N64 in my room, in the hospital room. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I remember my dad taking me to the Children's Hospital in downtown Los Angeles. And that place had a McDonald's at the bottom floor. And I didn't think there was a greater hospital on the planet. I remember going to checkups. Nothing really came of it. I just had 1 kidney. And then as I got older, I knew I couldn't drink. I still played sports. I was upset maybe 3 times in my life that I couldn't play contact sports because I thought I was good at flag football, which I was. I don't think it would have translated it. That's probably the one time you're ever going to hear me say that, because I usually say I was the Reggie Bush of flag football. Wouldn't have translated to tackle. Tough pill to swallow. But when I got older, it just became no contact sports, no drinking. So when I signed up to play basketball my freshman year of high school, I remember I had to have a physical, went in, and it was the summer going into sophomore year. And I found out that my kidney was failing. And I was like, big news. I didn't feel any different. I didn't feel sick. Found out I was anemic. I remember my mom having to give me shots of iron into my arm a couple times. I just didn't feel sick at all. I maybe slept a lot, but I thought that was normal. In high school, you sleep. And me and my brother, still close as ever. We went to the same high school. I still was probably a pest. Hung out with him and his friends too much. But I was still the little brother. And we didn't really bump heads. We bumped heads at just stupid shit. One time I told his friend to put cream cheese on his deodorant while I distracted him. And I paid for it. I ended up feeling bad about it, told my brother. Him and his friend beat the hell out of me. So I found out I'm kidney failure. I don't go to school sophomore year, but it was a sweet deal. My mom worked out some deal. God bless her. Greatest woman on earth. Worked out a deal with the school that I got to walk from my house over the bridge to eat lunch at South Torrance High School every day. And twice a week, homeschool, I read like 2 paragraphs in a book and talked to some dude about it. It was the most ridiculous thing. And I got to go to lunch every day. Screw around. No repercussions. If I got in trouble, I just would go right back over. It was awesome. And still, I didn't feel sick. I felt normal. I do see pictures now. Maybe I looked a little pale. I still don't remember. So then it came that I needed a transplant. And that process, even then. I mean, my mom, seriously, I don't know how she did it, but it never was an issue. I feel like it had to be an issue that her son needed a transplant, was going to get a transplant, and I never really thought anything of it. She just went about the business like it was. I was never scared, nervous, anything. So when the transplant thing came up, her friend Yvette and my brother were the 2 people that came in to see if they were a match. Turns out my brother was a match. He said he wanted to donate his kidney to me. I'm thankful for the rest of my life. It was probably a huge decision. He was in the middle of his baseball season and was donating an organ to his little brother. We didn't even have a discussion about it. He just went in that room. We found out we were a match, and he said he was going to do it. During his senior year of high school. Or junior year. Crazy. Never even, and probably thinking him, 18 years old, he's probably thinking something in his head. And him and my mom, they're just champions. They did not even realize like it was an issue at all. It was not a big deal. I compare it to my brother giving me hand-me-downs. An old shirt he didn't want anymore. He gave it to me. So what happens? The process gets going. I don't even remember the checkups leading up to it. I remember a couple times just going to the hospital a couple times a week. It became frequent. Still didn't feel sick. Not at all. And then the day before, July 15th, me and my brother in the hospital room, side by side in 2 beds. We're watching the All-Star game. The All-Star game was in Yankee Stadium that year. I think it went 15 innings. And still no conversation about it. And the next day, we were going into surgery. He was going to give me his kidney. And we just went to bed how we always went to bed. Night, love you. Every single time. And it was no different this time. Except he was going to donate his kidney to me the very next morning. Next morning, I remember he went in first. And then they wheeled me down. My mom and my aunt were right there when they were going to give me the laughing gas or whatever. I had my headphones in. They said I could listen to music. And I remember my mom was in tears. That was the first time I saw her just bawling. Because it had to be the biggest thing. Both her kids were going into surgery. And for the first time, I saw her cry that day. And they gave me the laughing gas. I kind of gave like the horns, started cracking up. The song in my headphones was Lil Wayne. I was a huge Lil Wayne fan. I was Lil Wayne, Fireman. They wheeled me off, told me to count backwards from 100. At like 97, I was out. I think it was this long surgery, 6 hours. And I just remember waking up, a lot of medication. And I do remember that my brother was in a lot more pain than I was. I was pushing that morphine button, but I remember hearing him. He had an itch and couldn't itch. He just seemed like he was in so much pain, and I was in not really. I don't remember being in pain. I really don't. And then I was in there for a long time. I think it felt like a long time at least. I remember I broke down on day whatever it was, 4 or 5, because I hadn't seen the sun. I was just locked in the room all day. My brother, I think, was out after 3 days. And I started crying. I just wanted out of there. Finally got out of there. A lot of medication now. Steroids especially. I was on tons of milligrams then. I broke out. My cheeks were huge. I gained weight. And that was probably the only thing I had to struggle with. I wish I could have my brother on. I probably should have had my brother on to talk about this. But I just wanted to dedicate this podcast to him because he needs to know. And this will be on here forever, to know that he's the greatest brother of all time. Afterward, I'm still on medication. I just take medication constantly. I had a problem with it at first. Just my psyche was all messed up. I would literally see people, and the medication side effects would make my cheeks really big, and people thought I got my wisdom teeth pulled. And it was a lot more than that. But that's the story of my brother donating his kidney to me. And my mom got this shirt for me. Thanks for the kidney, bro. On the back, it actually says I'm part troll now because I grew up talking a lot of shit to my brother. But he is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. I love him. I can't believe that he did it. I can never thank him enough. But I think it's fucking cool that I have a part of him inside me. And I'm his little brother. And now he's got 2 kids and a wife. And if he would do this for me, think about what he would do for them. He's the ultimate champion. Thank you, Dill. Cheers to you. Yes, I can have a few beers now. Me and him. That's our favorite thing to do, go to breweries. So, cheers to you, brother. I love you, man. You can follow me on Twitter at 10After7. On the Instagram, 10_after_7. Next week and the weeks going forward, we're talking straight sports. Get fired up for it. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm out. Woo! Go Dodgers.